Hey everyone, happy Tuesday. We have the final installment of our Leading Change series tonight. My name is Mike Gelman. I'm the author of Pipe Dreams, 7 Pipelines of Career Success, founder of High Five Career Coaching. And I'm here to just share some knowledge with you, drop some knowledge for you. And hopefully you get a gem or two that you can use. If you missed the previous broadcast, then go back into the LinkedIn stream or my Facebook page, and you'll find the previous Tuesday broadcast on Leading Change, and I've had some other series I've done as well. So check them out. Also, before I begin tonight, I have a brand new website. So check that out at mikegelman.com. So that is, would love to get your feedback. So please check that out. We'd love to get some feedback on it. All right. So with that, tonight's topic, evaluating the impact and celebrating success. So whatever type of business that you've been in, right, whatever work that you're doing, how do you evaluate whether it's having any kind of effect or not? Like, how do you know when you've been successful? And so one of the things that we often fall in the trap of is we just do. We're really busy, and we don't pause and take time to reflect on kind of, well, did we actually accomplish what we set out to accomplish? Did we achieve the results that we set out to achieve? And then even if we do that, then we don't always take the time to just take a breath and just, pat yourself on the back or celebrate, or as a team or for yourself. And so that's what this is about. I'm going to share with you some tips for doing that. And so ideally, when you are starting any new project or program or initiative, you're identifying what success looks like from the start, from the very beginning, and how are you going to measure it? So ideally, you're doing that at the very beginning. And so what are some techniques or tools you can use? Well, you can use pre and post surveys, right? A questionnaire at the beginning. So if you're trying to measure skills, if you're trying to measure knowledge, if you're trying to measure a certain behavior, having some type of baseline measure up front can be helpful, because then you can go back to that at the end, whatever that end is, or at a midpoint even, and track progress or track results. So again, it can be behavior changes, it can be goals that you've achieved, it can be costs that you've avoided, it can be revenue that's increased or changed in some fashion. It could be the number of clients that you have, or customers, kind of the growth there. So there's a lot of ways it can be measured. If it's internal within an organization, it can be the number of grievances. Maybe the number of grievances have gone down. Or sick days have gone down. Maybe it's the number of awards that you've achieved, or patents, gain, whatever. There's a lot of measures for success. Maybe it can be just how many days you're in a positive mood, right? So, kind of the impact on family members. So there's a lot of different ways you can measure it. So the key thing, and this goes into the second tip, is the type of measures that you have could either be process-based measures or results and outcome. We have a tendency is to focus on the final outcome, right? The end results. But just as powerful, if not more powerful, many times are process-focused goals, process-focused measures of success that strongly correlate with a given outcome, right? So if your goal, for example, is to lose weight, then, maybe the amount of hours you're spending exercising is a process. Like, are you exercising every day, or the cumulative hours per week, right? And so if you're measuring that, again, the outcome is, you're just measuring the exercise, not necessarily the weight lost that you've lost, right? Because you might not lose much in the first week or the second week, or maybe you do and then it drops off and then picks up again. So, but if you know that there's that strong relationship between certain activities and certain outcomes, then that can be a helpful way to measure, because that's fully in your control. Some things are not fully in your control. So that's why I like process-driven metrics that you can use for success. And in corporate terms, the traditional is return on investment, right? Which that tends to be more of a, certainly outcome-driven metric. Return on effort, so ROE, there's ROI, then there's ROE, return on effort. And that is more of a process-focused outcome. So the amount of time or effort you put into something, and what did you get in return, right, for that time and effort. And return on mission for the nonprofits, or I love working with socially conscious, purpose-driven organizations. And so return on mission is probably a more appropriate metric than profit, right? Because if you're a nonprofit, you can have revenue, you can have income, but it's all about the mission. At the end of the day, your organization's designed to have some type of social impact or social benefit, right? Typically. So, so that could be a useful metric. How much more were we able to really make a dent in that mission? So you can drill down into that. So those are some things there. And then another process one is behavior changes. It could be a process and it can also be an outcome. It just depends what the end goal is, right? So if someone, for example, with a lot of leaders I work with, sometimes the issue is being able to influence others more effectively, or might be resolving conflicts, or having better relationships with peers in other departments, something like that. And so there's ways you can measure, right? You can measure the behaviors, right, in terms of the absence of or the presence of certain behaviors, right? Are they yelling off the top of their head as much as they used to? Right? There's ways you can measure that. Or are they able to, are they actually just having the discussions they need to have? Are they apologizing? Are they seeking to understand the other person's point of view? So there's different ways to measure those behaviors, and you can survey people. You can just have discussions and just see, if they noticed a change, right? And how frequently, right? So you can, there's things like that you can track and evaluate. The third strategy or tip would be to have, not waiting to the very end, right? And to do progress checks or pulse checks. So whatever goal or program or initiative you have, unless it's a very short one, time frame, waiting until the end doesn't allow you the chance, if things went a little, sideways, doesn't give you the chance to self-correct. And so what I recommend is having some in the beginning, decide when do you want to have a check-in, when do you want to kind of check the pulse. So if you have a 6-month initiative, or does it make sense to check in on every a midpoint after 3 months or every 2 months, just to see how you're tracking against your goals, right? It's just like budgeting. Like if you have so much income per month and you're spending money, you go to the grocery store one day, you buy shoes another day and all this, and you're not checking the balance and versus how much, I'm going to need groceries for another 2 weeks. If you're not checking on a semi-regular basis, then you may totally miss the mark, right? And run out of money or spend it all when you budgeted for otherwise. So you want to have those progress checks, and they can be quantitative in nature. kind of what are the numbers, or they can be qualitative in nature, which can be more focused on people's opinions or their experience or their satisfaction, or there's qualitative measures there. A fourth tip is to capture lessons learned. So, and this is something that I do myself, right? So just between yesterday and today, my assistant and I did this. Yesterday was kind of looking back to 2021 and saying, okay, what went well? What were our successes? What were our disappointments? What surprises were they? So we looked at and then what lessons did we learn? Right? And just taking that time to reflect on, okay, well, what did we learn there? Because that can then feed into your path going forward. What adjustments do you want to make moving forward? The fifth tip is to build some form of meaningful recognition for yourself and others. So when you achieve success, you can decide this up front. Like if you're able to achieve such and such goal, how do you want to reward yourself? Right? For example, with the losing weight example, how do you want to reward yourself if you lose weight? Hopefully it's not to pig out on some high-fat food, but something else, right? Something healthy, another way to reward yourself for doing that. So those are just some thoughts. And something that's going to be meaningful. So, with me, sometimes it's like, okay, I'm gonna, if I make, these 10 calls today, for outreach, then I will go to the jacuzzi, right, and treat myself to just a relaxation in there. Or, for some people, they'll say, oh, I'll have a spa day if I do this, or, whatever it may be, whatever is meaningful for you, that's going to make it worthwhile. Okay, maybe it's booking a short trip for yourself. I mean, during these COVID times, you have to be creative, right? Because many of us are sheltered in. So, it might not be what you typically would have done to reward yourself, but you can think of some other things, perhaps. Maybe you give yourself permission to sleep in, the next day, when normally you'd get up and you'd be working. I'm going to give myself permission to just take the morning off, right? So be creative. And those are my tips. So identifying success from the start, deciding on the types of measures. Are they process or outcome focused measures of success? Having progress checks along the way, or pulse checks. Discovering your lessons learned, reflecting on those. And lastly, identifying some meaningful recognition for you if you achieve that. And that could also be recognition for the progress you're making, not just the outcome, but the progress, right? Don't wait for the end. That's the message. All right, take care, everyone. Hopefully that was helpful. Feel free to share this post if there are some gems that you feel are worth sharing. And remember, check out my new website. I would love your feedback on it, MikeGelman.com. And that's about it for the year. That's my last Tuesday broadcast for the year. Next week, I'll be taking vacation. I will be on Friday for a final High Five Friday broadcast. So bring your career questions, your leadership questions, whatever they may be, for Friday. And that'll wrap it up for the year in terms of any scheduled broadcasts. It's possible I may do an impromptu one or somewhere next week, but that's the scheduled broadcast for the year. So I want to wish all of you a wonderful new year. Enjoy the holidays, whatever holidays you observe. I know it's going to be a little wacky this year and maybe more low key. Whatever you make of it, I hope you have a wonderful next couple weeks, kind of closing out the year, and wishing you well with a 2021. Hopefully it's a prosperous year, a healthy year, and a year of growth. So take care, everyone. Bye-bye.